I started working on my own, self-employed, when I was about 12 to 13 years old. Um, my parents had a very big place, a mansion in Denmark, and it was one of those very big places that the city and the suburbs have grown all around it. So we had a huge plot of land that my mom wanted us to take care of course. Um, so I was helping, tending the garden, help chopping the woods. Even at that age, I was allowed to run a chainsaw. But it was in the 80s. It was okay that kids would do stuff like that. Um, and I really wanted to also earn some extra money. So my father had invested in a huge garden machine that could be converted into mowing the lawn, tilling the soil, and doing stuff like that. He also built a small trailer for that little multi-machine. So it was the fun thing that we could drive in it, drive around the garden, and drive a little around the neighborhood. And it was fun. So then our neighbors started to come ask my father, can I use your tilling machine? Because I want to till my garden soil for the vegetables and potatoes and so on. He wasn't much of that, because then all of a sudden he wouldn't know where the machine was. So my father actually said, my son is normally running the machine at our house and our garden. So have him come and do it for you, and then you can pay him to do it. Okay. So it started just, with the close nearby neighbors. And then the word very gently spread amongst the neighbors. So they would call my mom when she was at home and maybe I was at school or somewhere. And she would say, hey, can John come maybe this afternoon after his schoolwork? And I have a garden. I need tilling. Yeah, and she would take the address and the name and time. So when I come home from school, she would say, hey, you need to go to that address and till the soil there. So I would load up that little trailer with those claws that tills the soil, put the wheels on the machine, go to that place, meet a man, obviously, or a woman having a garden, and I would do that, till the soil, and I put quite a pride in making the soil very soft and very aerated and cut by very nice straight lines and so on. It was like, there was something about it when you're that age and you get, back then if I got like €4, €5 back then, like equivalent, we called it 30-40 kroners. And this was in the mid 80s, right? So it was money, not a lot, especially not for what I was bringing. My father's big machinery and I was doing all the work. Because they said, can we help you? No. I have tried it so many times, so I can easily do that. I did. So in the spring, there was a lot of that work to do, and maybe after the harvest of their vegetables, the potatoes, their other crops, carrots and so on, then I would come and till the soil for them. So that was my very start at around age 12, I think I was. Actually making my own money, saving up so I could do other things. Then we moved from that house into another place. My father started his own company. My father was very much into, as a hobby, later he turned it into professional, radio-controlled electronics. Like, he had always been building electronic stuff, even though he was an auto mechanic. He liked radio-controlled aeroplanes and model cars, boats, helicopters and all that. So even from that very early age on, I had these things, and I had them for toys, and we played around it. And he brought me to small competitions in the local area where I could run radio-controlled cars. And he turned that into a profession, and we did that. Actually, that he turned it, of course, a full-time profession. And since I had been watching my father building those things, since my mom actually has pictures of me sitting with a binky in my mouth on my father's lap when I was maybe 1.5 years old, while he was building electronics or fixing things at his little work desk. So I literally got it in with my mother's milk. So I learned simply from I was a baby to do things, build things, and fix things. And what happened then was I learned how to build model airplanes out of wood, to fix those things. So when my father started this shop, and he had in that also a repair shop where other shops, sellers, could send their warranty items and so on for him to repair. Back then, you remember, you really repaired toys. If you had a radio-controlled car that wouldn't work, a transmitter, a telephone that wouldn't work or something, they would, a television, a radio, whatever, they would bring it to my father and he would fix it. That was how he made a lot of extra money. So in the beginning, my job was to run in those methanol-driven airplane engines, standing outside in the driveway and running them for an hour or two so they would be ready and you could press them. Then later, when people went to my father's shop, and he would give them an offer. If you buy a complete set, for example, of an airplane, all the radio equipment, the engines, the airplane itself, everything you need, then I will give you free teachings so you can operate, you can learn how to operate it, and you can be certified. Back then there was, like you have today with a drone, if you want to fly a drone today, you need a drone certificate. We had the same already back then and many years before that. So I ended up being the youngest ever to receive a certificate for flying model airplanes up to 5 kilos, was the level back then. So when at that point I must have been like 15 years old. So they would make this agreement with my father, and then even before we got to fly the machine, some people would call and say, I have a problem building this wooden airplane because it has to be built from scratch, right? You literally bought a box of wooden panels, wooden lists, and paper cover and so on, and then with glue and a lot of patience during typically a winter, you would start building that one. Then in the spring you would go and fly it. Very tedious, very long project. But that was part of the hobby back then. And they would say, hey, I'm not quite sure how this is built. There's something I don't understand. And he would say, okay, where do you live? I live there and there. I'll send my son when he comes home from school. Or in the evening when they were home from work. So we would do that. I would go and take my bicycle, go there, and help them. And they were happy, and we built those planes. So that was part of how I made the money back then, from building airplanes with my father's customers in the shop. Sorry. And then when the spring comes, we would go and fly those airplanes. And since I was a certified teacher, you know, it sounds today in this, I mean, listen, in this day and age, right? With how precocious parents are about their young teenagers and young kids and so on, it was horrible. Imagine this. I'm at school. I'm 15 years old. My mom is at home. My father is at work at the shop. A grown-up man calls my mother. Hello, this is so-and-so. Is your son available this afternoon? Yeah, because I would like to go and have a flight. So can I pick up your son at maybe 4 o'clock this afternoon? And then we will go to this field far out in somewhere, and we'll spend the afternoon there. Yeah, sure. If you come here at, let's say, 3:30, my mom said, then you pick him up. Okay. So, me, a young guy, a grown-up man comes and picks me up by his car, have maybe a can of soda for me, or cookies or whatever, because it was also kind of coziness, right, and a little relaxed time. And then we went out to 5 kilometers out into fields and through forests and so on, because it has to be, back then, we had to be in a secluded area where there would be safety. And we would spend the whole afternoon there. No one ever thought about it. Like today, that would be, no, you can't do that. We didn't even think there could be anything potential danger there. And I would have my own transmitter. The person would have his transmitter, and we would have a cable between. So I would check the airplane was ready for being airborne. I would start it up, put it up into the air, and then I would say, now I flip this switch, and then you can start learning how the airplane reacts to your input. Just try something, whatever happens. If you lose control, I will flip the switch back and I will straighten up the airplane, and we try again. And then gradually, okay, now I want you to try to make a left turn, a right turn, up, down, whatever. And it would take hours and days. They would learn that. And since it was through my father's company, he would pay me. So part of my work, my afternoon work, back then was actually to fly model airplanes. I mean, that was a luxury life, right? I enjoyed it. They enjoyed it. They could then go up to one of my father's friends who was a known certifier guy, that he could certify them. Yes, he have passed this test now, this gentleman, and now he's allowed to go out and fly on his own and go to other places and fly on his own. So that was how we started. And then other afternoons, of course, I would go and help my father in the shop, selling stuff, advising new customers which product to buy, why not, why this model is not good for you because so and so and so, or giving good advice, because we knew what we were talking about. We were living this life. We were using all those materials ourselves. And of course, when we really had fun, my dad would take me to races on the weekends, and because I really loved both the racing but also the airplanes. And I would have tons of good memories of me going with my dad. Oftentimes, if my dad said, hey, I close the shop at 5:30. If you pack our car with everything we need, then we will go straight to the airfield, you and me. I loved it, me and my dad. So I would really make sure all our rechargeable batteries were charged up, the methanol gas tank was full, everything was cleaned, everything was checked and ready. It was a thing. I mean, I loved it. It was quality time with my father. And we would go and no mobile phones, no nothing. My dad and I, maybe a couple of our club buddies, airplane club buddies, we would be there until the sunset, 10:30 or something, 11 o'clock. I mean, those memories, man, they can never be exchanged. I loved those things. Or we would go sometimes in the winter time in a weekend and drive radio-controlled cars indoor. I remember that like it was yesterday. When I smell the smell of methanol, I'm like thinking of my father with only good, fond memories. My father is dead now. When I will go to a race with model race cars and I smell these liquids and oily stuff is used there, immediately. Good, fond memories of me and my father. So, and that was how I was able to also fund part of my own hobby, which was also that. So that was the start of me being self-employed and working to help people in that industry.